Hello, hello, I'm Jihe. I'm a comic artist and writer, and I did ArtFight for the first time last year. I was kind of just doing it with friends, so I didn't realize this was like a full-blown social media site where you can like interact with strangers and stuff. Also finding out that there's ArtFight drama. Wild. I didn't know it was that serious. Yeah, I don't know, this year I think I want to get a little bit more into like the culture of ArtFight and, kind of experience like interacting more on here, but we'll see. Being attacked is mostly out of my control, but I can be the aggressor, you know what I mean? I'll put a little summary of my attacks from last year that I did. Yeah, they were all for mutuals. Mostly I did flat colors with no shading. And then for some reason I went really ham on this one. Yeah, it's only been a year, but I already forgot what my rationale for that was. For the record, though, I did not draw this chain link. I stole the chain link from Clip Studio downloadable textures or whatever that's called. So this year I'm going to be focusing on mutuals first, but then I also want to get to some strangers. I want to attack some strangers. And I've decided that the way I'm going to do that is through at least one themed mass attack. If you can guess the theme in the comments, I will draw your OC as well. But I'm really confident nobody will guess the theme. I know ArtFight is like already kind of a challenge, but I want to make sure that I'm like progressing in my skills as well during it. So I want to focus on bringing energy to the poses. I want to work on shading. So this year I'm going to try to shade every attack, even if it's just basic cell shading. And I want to do some simple backgrounds. These backgrounds, you can tell I really just I didn't bother really. The clown boy is just like on the most distorted, weird, flat picnic blanket ever. Don't worry about it. I'm not trying to like go as detailed as I did with this like zombie one, but I do want to do like simple background elements and at least get like the perspective right and stuff. And then finally, the last challenge that I have decided on for myself that is honestly really scary is no color picking. Usually I steal colors directly off of a reference with the like eyedropper tool thingy. I'm really bad at recognizing hue. Now let us go to my account and I will share a bit about my characters. This first group of characters with the red background, they're from a comic called Are We Dead Yet? It's a zombie comic. And the logline is: a generation into the zombie apocalypse, a young scout from a walled colony discovers that an enemy group has recreated dangerous old world weaponry. She will do anything to save her loved ones, including trusting an outsider claiming to be a cured zombie, even as she realizes the real threat to her home is not from the outside world, but the rot within its walls. Yeah, so we got Eve here. She's the main character. She's in her early 20s. She's Korean. She's hot-tempered, passionate, cares a lot. She says whatever she's thinking. So she can be pretty harsh, but she's always kind to children and animals because that's more important than being nice to adults for some reason. We've all collectively agreed. This is her character sheet that I did. I did these two drawings quite a while ago. This one as well. And this is her with her two best friends, Felix and Caleb. I'll get to them in a bit. She's not sure about Felix's cooking. She's not sure. And then this is her with the cat she rescued. And this is the woman who raised her, Alice. Yeah, whenever Eve finds a cat outside, she tries to rescue it and then get Alice to take it in, because Alice is the matron of an orphanage, so it can't be too hard to like take in another cat, right? Plus the kids will take care of it. Also, quick note about the sword. This is a hwando. It's a Korean sword. It's not a katana. In like a simplified art style, I wouldn't say there's like a humongous difference, but that's just something to note. Alright, next we got Caleb. He's the secondary protagonist, and as such, he's kind of a foil to Eve. So he's level-headed, he's quiet, kind of follows orders. He does like collecting odds and ends, including the pins on his quiver. That's a little Canada pin. He didn't necessarily know that when he picked it up, but more on that, it's like and a fried egg, because his family raises chickens, so he loves eggs, surely. So the Canada pin, right? My best friends live in Canada, and I was designing bro before their eyes, and I put a flannel on him, and then they were like, "Oh, is he Canadian?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, I was gonna give him a little axe, but yeah, no, he's got the flannel, he's got the jeans, he's got the Tims. He's not technically Canadian, but he's Canadian in spirit. You know what I mean? Because that's a thing you can be for sure. He's also not sure about the cooking. His family raises chickens, like I said, so this is he's catching a runaway chicken. And then I got this shirtless pic, Scandal, because I was trying to do some back anatomy practice. Backs are weird. They're really weird. Let me update. I have another drawing to add. I also wanted to mention that I think the layout of this is just really weird. Okay, so, I get my image, right? Okay, there's my image. Like, okay, so see, this page alone has 4 submit buttons. 1, 2, 3, or I guess this is a save sort order button, so that's technically different. Okay, but I submit, but I have to click this one, because if I click one of these other ones, it doesn't submit it, right? And here, why are there 500 submit buttons? Like, can we just have one, like, down here? And also a pop-up that warns you if you're about to click out without saving, because I've done that a few times, and it didn't say anything. Anyway, this is Caleb and his brother Josh, his older brother, and yeah. His brother doesn't have a separate profile in ArtFight, but he does exist. Oh, also, do want to shout myself out for finally drawing bro without his hat, because I don't know, I was like, what does that look like without the hat? I don't know. He probably has like the hat hair of the century or something. Yeah. Also, for drawing feet, because I don't really like drawing feet, but I drew 3 of them. Next we got Felix. He's kind of goofy. He likes being the center of attention and making people laugh. And he loves cooking. And he's the only one that's thrilled about that. His character sheet. That's a french fry, by the way. Also, I've since changed his boots, but I mean, it's not a big deal. Here's a expression sheet I did for homework one time for an art class. Oh, also want to mention that I gave him like a baseball bat, but he lives on a farm, so I'm considering giving him some kind of like farming implement as his weapon, maybe like a scythe or a threshing flail or something like that, but I haven't really researched that yet, so as of right now it's still a baseball bat, but yeah, might change that. Okay, now this drawing, right? This was another anatomy practice that I just turned into Felix because I could, and I was like, okay, I had 2 purposes, a dual purpose here, okay? I was like, okay, let me practice some torso anatomy, because that's what we had just learned in class, and then the other was, let me see if I can tap into some thirst, okay? Because, you know, I love the enthusiasm I see online for, like, hot men, but as an ace lesbian, I don't know if I got that. I don't know if I nailed that. Like, is this a hot guy? I think so. Maybe. You tell me. Maybe I should have added some rain or something, because for some reason being wet just makes everything more attractive for some reason. I don't know. I don't really get that one personally, but oh, the other thing to point out is I didn't draw nipples, because I hate nipples. I just think they're weird. Like in real life, I just think they look strange, and I don't like them. However, I've been informed that it looks weirder without them, so I might start doing that, but we'll see. Then we got Daisy. So she's kind of a classic, you know, tough woman character. That type of character appears pretty often in fiction. I am doing that for a reason, so don't worry about that, but yeah, no, she's stoic, she's a leader, she's the leader of the squad. She decides the strategy and what their next moves are going to be and all that. Yeah, this is her with her 2 kids, Carter and Megan. Yeah, so far I've ignored their father, because, you know, Daisy and him are not together anymore, so it doesn't really matter. I used to watch a lot of shonen anime, and they would always be like, oh, this character's father died, therefore he's an orphan, and I'm always just like, he had to have been born, so where's his mother? So we don't need to know who the father was, you know? Also, we'll point out that she is supposed to be in her mid-40s, so I don't see a ton of quote-unquote old characters on ArtFight. I feel like the vast majority that I see are like teens or early 20s. I mean, I wouldn't even say mid 40s is old. That's like middle aged, right? But oh man, okay. But I was in an ArtTube server the other day. Shout out to the server. And I joined the VC for the first time, and they were going on about how people in their early 20s are so damn old. And I was like, interesting. I'm in my late 20s, so that was just really funny to me. But you know what? To be fair, I didn't know what unk meant for a long time, and I was so disappointed that it didn't mean uncle. Like I knew it was like a bad thing to be unk or whatever, and that it was like I knew the general vibe that you're like not hip or like not with the times or whatever, but I thought it was short for uncle because uncles are sometimes not hip and not with the times in like a very specific uncle-y way, you know what I mean? So shout out to uncles. Okay, that's enough anyway. I was disappointed. I wish it was short for uncle. Anyway, then we got another character in his mid-40s. This is Gil. And he's kind of the, you know, in every like apocalypse story, there's always like an older military, like ex-military guy, who's just like really manly and gruff, and he's just like, you know, quintessentially male, you know? Yeah, if you're not a man, you know what I'm talking about, but and yeah, here he's doing the old Haruji sit. I mean, he's not old enough to be a grandfather yet, but well, mid-40s, I guess it's possible. It's just rare these days, but it's possible. Anyway, yeah, this where you sit and just like watch things happen. Because I'm like, okay, in a world where they don't have like computers and stuff, probably people would start doing that a lot earlier. But anyway, this is Gil catching a fish, or after he's caught a fish, I guess I should say. Yeah, no, it was weird drawing him smiling. I have drawn him several times, but never smiling. It looks wrong. Also, would like to call out that I, for some reason, shaded his individual nostrils here, because I don't want y'all to think I didn't notice that I did that. Yeah, I'll revisit these someday. Not yet, but someday. Now let's look at the connections feature, okay? I really like this, personally. I think this was a really great addition, ArtFight. It's a really good writing exercise, like, even if you don't necessarily post it, just to summarize the relationships between these characters. Eve, Caleb, and Felix, they're like kind of childhood friends. They grew up in the same neighborhood. Eve and Felix kind of have a little romance question mark going on, where Felix is all in. Eve doesn't want to admit that she likes him. Let's see, Daisy, she's always trying to wrangle the squad. She kind of sees Eve as her protege. She likes Caleb generally because he just follows orders. She's like friendly with his family. She thinks Felix is a clown, and she's right. Yeah, Gil is kind of the one on the squad that there's the most friction with, like between Gil and Eve mostly. They don't get along at all. Gil likes the boys fine enough. He's like, okay, sure. You guys might talk too much, but you do what you're told, you know? And Eve, on the other hand, she says exactly what she's thinking, and that doesn't go well with Gil. He thinks it's too much. And then between Gil and Daisy, there's kind of like this constant undercurrent of like dick fencing with them. Like, he acknowledges that she is in charge, but the hierarchy is not too rigid. My second group of characters here, they are all D&D NPCs from the campaign I'm running called Thumb the Scales, which might be a comic someday. I don't know. We're kind of in discussion about that right now. But, yeah, the story for that is a desperate pirate recruits a rebellious prince and a curious orphan for a get-rich-quick scheme. but it somehow spirals into a cosmic war to defeat the god of death and restore the god of life, only for the trio to discover that these gods are two sides of the same destructive coin, and only an impossible sacrifice can rebalance the world. Alright, this is the Desperate Pirate. Comet, of course, by Starmouth. Lovely. And then one of the other player characters is on ArtFight, and that is Ren by Pen Fairy. Lovely. The third party member is Windbreaker. This is them. They're not on ArtFight though, so. Alright, now these aren't necessarily like the most important NPCs to the campaign, but I did want to make, or like put up some of the supporting characters for Comet and Ren. Yeah, but this is Grubs. He doesn't know what's going on at any given moment, but, you know, he's okay with that. His quote, "We could turn him into a rug!" And that's his voice, very important. He's a pirate on Comet's crew. Here we got Celeste. She is the captain of Comet's crew. And, she's like stoic, tough as nails type, but she has a soft spot for misfits and people who are rejected by society and whatnot. So that's where she got her crew members from, and she kind of helped raise Comet from when he was a kid. Here's a picture of him in childhood. Also, these are frames from an animatic I made on somewhere else on the channel as well. I will say that I really don't like the design element of a otherwise humanoid character having a tail. Because I just don't want to think about what's going on with her pants. I don't want to deal with that, you know? So I just never draw her from the back, hopefully. Or if I do, she has to be wearing this pirate coat so that you can't see what's going on back there. Because I do not want to... I just don't want to figure out the logistics of, like, tail pants. I mean, I know you're like, oh, just cut a hole, but then, like, I don't know, it needs, like, a hem so that it doesn't fray, and, like, all this... especially if I did make it kind of thick, which is also an issue. Like, I also get the concept that it just comes from the base of your spine, right? Yeah, I don't know, that still doesn't really help me, like, figure out what's going on. Also, is it even possible to wear, like, a thick belt like this if that's coming off of her sacrum? I don't know. But I'm just not gonna address it, ever. That's the plan. And we got Doc Pox. He is missing an arm, and he has 2 flesh legs here. But he does lose one of the flesh legs, and it gets replaced by a wooden leg, which has incredibly detailed leg hairs carved into it. So, you know, that's an important design note, obviously. Even though I didn't even draw leg hair on his original legs, but don't worry about it. He's in the Cult of Luna. He's a proud lunatic, and he's the surgeon and partisan of the pirate crew. You know, he really wants to tell you all about being a lunatic, and, you know, the spiritual experience he had in which he lost his arm on the moon. You know, you should definitely ask him about it. And last pirate, member of the pirate crew, we have Musty Justin. Well, there's more crew members, but the last one on ArtFight. He smells bad. He's musty, you know? And everyone calls him Musty instead of Justin for some reason. You know, I just realized that. I don't know why we decided to do that collectively, but okay. He's the first mate and navigator, or he was a pirate before. He got kicked out of his previous pirate crew, and now he's here. You know, he combs his arm hair. Important. And he's also missing a leg, but he's an artificer, so he has this stone foot that he, like, what's that called? Infused to be his replacement leg. And then we've got Ren supporting cast. This is Laver. He is also a navigator, but he was a member of a crew called the Riptide Pirates. Also, side note, I do know about Just Roll With It now, but at the time I didn't. So I didn't copy them. It's just kind of easy to come up with. So don't worry about it. He's kind of looking out for himself at first, you know, but as he interacts more with the player characters, he reluctantly becomes a better person. Especially because of Ren, and they're childhood friends, but they lost touch and then reunited as adults, and he might have a little crush on her, you know? But, you know, don't tell her. Okay? And then here's Clove. They're the owner of the Four Leaf Bakery, and they were childhood friends with Ren and Laver. And I really wish I'd written out the word four, because this looks weird, but that's okay. She's really nice, and she gave the party cream puffs on the house when they came to visit her. And finally, we've got Glowburn Plumbrew, of course. He's not part of any particular character's backstory, but yeah, he's literally just a random NPC that I created for like session 3. And I don't know why, but my players just love him for some reason. Yeah, he wasn't supposed to be all that important at all, but I've added him to ArtFight due to popular demand. And here he is tripping, or slipping, I guess. He's kind of a good-for-nothing. He's a drunkard. He works for his sister at the family brewery, but he wants to be an adventurer, but hasn't really taken any steps towards that. Like, originally, I was gonna have him turn evil. So I was doing some, like, foreshadowing dialogue and, like, having him talk about, you know, how he's unsatisfied with his life and all that. And then the player characters were just so, like, inspiring. They all just, like gave him such a great pep talk that I was like, okay, well, I mean, they literally just steered him away from the life of crime that I had planned for him. And I guess he's a good guy now, because so now he's returned a couple times as an ally. Yeah, no, one of my favorite things about DMing is, like, organically reacting to the player character's decisions, and, like, having the NPCs be affected by their decisions. I think that's really fun to roleplay. I mean, like, Laver, for example, was always supposed to, like, or I had always planned that he would probably side with Ren at some point, even if it took him a bit, which it did. But, like, Glowburn, I don't know, Comet literally turned his life around with the song. It was called The Dangers of Alcoholism, and now Glowburn thinks he's, like, the smartest guy to walk the planet, low-key. Yeah, so those are my characters. So I'm pretty excited to do ArtFight for the second time. Again, try to guess the theme of my mass attack in the comments. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.